All right, baby. Let's talk NFC East football, man. What you got for me?
Let's jump right into these Cowboys, man. I think the biggest
All right.
headline for the Cowboys is the Mike McCarthy's their head coach. No more Jason Garrett. My question though for the Cowboys is how long is Dak going to be the starting quarterback? I,
I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you
I'm
go.
tired. I know you're a Cowboy fan. I'm tired of telling you, man, that Dak is holding back the team. That's what I feel. That's what I honestly feel. He's got too much talent around him to keep failing. Too much talent around him to keep going 8-8. Maybe it was the coaching staff, maybe it was this, maybe it was that. Maybe Mike McCarthy will help. But man, I feel like Andy Dalton will be the guy that'll come in. He'll efficiently run the offense, and the team's gonna be so much better for it. If Andy Dalton's your quarterback, Cowboys go deep in the playoffs. I promise. I promise. Second thing I want to talk about
Okay.
is, go ahead, ask away.
I will say Andy Dalton does look good in a cowboy uniform, but
Red hair
I'm
and
gonna let
all.
you continue before I even hit you back. So let's
Yeah, all right,
go.
that's fine.
Keep it
That's
going.
fine.
Keep it rolling. Let's go.
I am so excited for CD Lamb. I'm a Longhorn fan, as you can tell. I'm so happy he's not a Sooner anymore. He was torching the Longhorns, man, every year. Last year, the Oklahoma Longhorn game, people on his Wikipedia page were calling him the mayor of Austin because it was that bad. It was that bad. So I'm excited to
88,
see
baby.
CeeDee Lamb. He's wearing 88. That's Cowboy. That's prime
Oh yeah.
time wide receiver. Everybody loves when 88 goes around. He's a guy. It's simple. You get the ball in his hands. It doesn't matter how. Cowboys, please give him 15, 20 touches a game. I don't care how you do it. Get handed to him, motions, screens. It doesn't matter. He'll take you a long way. Biggest loss for the Cowboys is probably Byron Jones, one of their corners. Jason Witten, a leader. Robert Quinn, defensive end. They did a good job drafting guys, bringing in guys. Trayvon Diggs is a second-round draft pick, a longtime starter at Alabama. A guy who will probably be your best corner pretty quickly.
Easily, yeah, most likely.
Um, I would think so. He's a good athlete. He's tall. Signed Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, and then recently brought in Everson Griffin, who will play alongside DeMarcus Law on the outside.
Marcus
Defense,
Lawrence, man.
DeMarcus
D
Lawrence, Law,
Law.
same thing. D Law, DeMarcus Law.
D Law, baby.
Uh, One of the things I think is really interesting when we talk about the coaching staff, Mike McCarthy was kind of always tagged as the guy who had a bit of a generic offense. He took the year off, studied the game, hopefully expanded his offense a little bit, expanded his use of athletes, but he also has Kellen Moore, who they kept from last year. One of the things that we saw is Kellen Moore's bringing a lot of unique formations, bringing a lot of unique motions, bringing a lot of things where he's putting guys in situations to be successful. So I'm curious to see, the marriage there. Again, put CeeDee Lamb all over the field. Put these guys in space. Feed Zeke, feed these dudes. Run those halfback screens that we talk about all the time.
Yep.
That
The
Zeke
ones we
scores
run
on
twice a year.
every time they run it.
Yep. I, man, I'm excited to see what Mike McCarthy can do with Kellen Moore, man. Mike McCarthy, hopefully he did what he said he did. Wasn't just put on a show, and he updated his offense and lets Kellen Moore be creative. I think the Cowboys' biggest problem, and you know this, I think the Cowboys' biggest problem has been Jason Garrett. Leadership is everything. We've
Okay.
seen it with Sean McVay. He went all in, bought in for a football season, and he made it to the Super Bowl. Whether he won or not, he at least made it there. We can see how leadership changes a football team. And Jason Garrett has been 8-8,
Yeah.
mediocre, down the road every year. We go
And
one
unfortunately
deep.
for
We
you,
go one deep, whether it's wild card or first
yeah,
round. We go one deep, and we can't beat anybody. We can't beat the Packers. We know that for a fact. But
for sure.
Aaron Rodgers is just a beast. But I mean, Mike McCarthy has to be the X factor for the Cowboys. I really think he's the X
And I hope he
factor for
is.
the
I
Cowboys.
hope he
I
is.
hope so. I hope he is too. With CD Lamb, like you said, CD Lamb coming in, absolute stud, absolute stud. I think Dak is the man of the future. He's not
You
a
do.
great quarterback, but he is good. He's good.
But
He's
he
not
hasn't been
great.
good
I've always
enough up
said
to
this.
this
He's not
point.
great. He's good. And that is true because he is surrounded by
He's
all the
surrounded.
talent in the world. But
One of
I
the things
believe
that it's
that
polarizing to
coaching
me
has made.
is the Cowboy fans. They blamed Tony Romo for everything when Tony Romo had nothing around him, and Cowboys
Mind
fans
you, I didn't. I'll tell you, I
are
didn't.
holding on to Dak Prescott and giving him every when he has everything around him to be successful, and they're defending him every step they can.
See,
It's time for a new quarterback. It's time for
my
somebody else to come in and run the offense.
my
Andy
argument to
Dalton
that
is your guy.
my argument to that is Tony Romo couldn't do anything with Jason Garrett there. Yes, he was injury prone, but he never did anything even with Jason Garrett there. They built around Tony and they built a giant team around him that was fantastic. But I mean, Dak Dak has Dak has all these pieces surrounding him, and I truly believe it's not necessarily him. It's the play calling, it's the coaching,
Okay.
it's the time management. I cannot tell you how many times I watched the Cowboys lose because of time management.
Sure.
We're
Sure.
we're kicking, we have 8 seconds or we have 15 seconds on the clock, and rather than shooting for a Hail Mary, at least trying with the timeout still left on the board, we just line up for a field goal, and then we kick and we miss. We didn't even take a shot. I mean, stuff like that is a coach who really
Yeah.
doesn't. For me, is more of a puppet. He doesn't care
Yeah.
about winning. He's just doing what he thinks is safe.
Satisfied
And
with being mediocre.
safe is you're right. Safe is not okay
Yeah.
when you have all these big names. We've had, we just took a big hit on the offensive line. Travis Frederick gone. We've had Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Lyle Collins,
Tyrone Smith.
Tyrone Smith, man. Like, that's 4 out of 5 Pro Bowlers, most
Yeah.
likely,
Yeah.
on the front line. Like, you can't tell me you can't produce with that. You can't tell me we're not running screens with that, with probably some of the most mobile linemen in
Very
the
athletic.
NFL.
Absolutely.
Extremely.
Yeah.
We're not moving too far off because Joe Looney's pretty freaking good. He's a quick boy. You can see him in, you know, I'm sure it's not that hard. The screen highlight film of the Cowboys a couple last years, probably like 2 screens a year. So Jason Garrett didn't really run screens with Zeke, who scores every time we run him. But we don't
Yeah.
like those. We don't like touchdowns.
I mean, they've had
Like
no problem running the ball. The consistency problem has been moving the ball through the air. And
I think it's more like the gadget plays, keeping that trickery involved, keeping receivers moving around. I think CeeDee Lamb will help with a little bit of that running out of the slot. We've Michael Gallup's been balling. He may not be a true number one. I do believe he's a very high end number 2 starter. Dude, I mean, he's gonna be. I think the offense is stacked full of people, and let's be
I
honest,
agree. I
this
agree.
defense is stacked full of people. If this offense doesn't produce this year,
It'll be Dalton's
it,
time,
it, has,
dude.
it has to be.
It'll be
Yeah, I
Dalton's
agree. It
time.
has to
Yeah.
be Andy Dalton's time. But I truly believe it was the Jason Garrett virus,
Okay.
man. And
Well, we're gonna get an opportunity to see it. Mike McCarthy's the guy. Mike McCarthy
yeah,
did it in Green Bay for a long time with Aaron Rodgers. And so here
I
it
mean,
is. He's got his guy. And we'll
yeah,
see what the Cowboys look like.
the biggest hurdle will be for the Cowboys is, division wise at least, will be the Eagles. So let's go ahead and get into them, man.
Rock it out.
All right, man. So let's talk Carson Wentz. Can he stay healthy, man? That's my biggest question
That's
for
the
the
biggest
Eagles.
question for them.
He's been hurt every year for that. I think he accidentally won the Eagles a Super Bowl. Nick
By
Foles
getting
coming,
hurt.
yeah, absolutely won the Eagles a Super Bowl by getting hurt.
There
Nick
you go.
Foles came out of nowhere, fresh, going into the playoffs. I mean, what better timing? Brand new guy, the coaching staff was good enough to not really develop, but change and adapt to what they had moving. Um, because that offense really wasn't the same. He also didn't have a lot around him at that point. He had no receivers, no anything. So I think their biggest problem is receivers, man. They don't really have, they have got Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah,
That's
and they drafted a
that,
bunch of them this year, so we'll see what those
yeah,
guys
they've
look
got
like.
a lot of young receivers, but I mean, we both know receivers coming into the league have a big learning curve most of the time, and they don't really do very well.
I think
And
that's
then
getting better over the years. The wide receivers are coming in. They're used to these spread offenses, man. They're not having to learn anything different. They've been running slant routes since they were 5 years old. You
yeah,
know,
and
we're
I will
starting to see
say
more rookies come in and be productive.
the Eagles seem to make that learning curve better because they have a coach who's willing to adapt. He's adapted to that youth. He's adapted to the new, RPO style. He was one of the first teams to kind of one of the, I would say, top 10 teams to first transition and start adding RPOs
The
into it.
RPOs, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but my problem is Carson Wentz. I think they're okay up front. Jason Peters, Jason Kelsey up front, but I think they're okay up front in the offensive line. I really think their problem is they don't really have any weapons. Zach Ertz is a phenomenal tight end. He's a phenomenal pass catching, blocking tight end. He can do it all. But I mean, Austin Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, they're not superstars, which I don't think you need superstars to win, but I do think you need playmakers, and I
Sure,
don't really
sure.
see them as big time playmakers, especially in big time games. Um, and then the running back position, man, Boston Scott and Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders has the Cowboys number and just
Yeah,
murders us every year
yeah.
for some reason. We can't stop that guy, but you know when he plays every other team, they tend to struggle in the run game. And a lot of teams nowadays are buying into, hey, you don't need a superstar running back, which is fine, but I think you need at least somebody to carry the load, and they've got a lot of gadget players, a lot of small guys, and I don't really
Sanders
see
seems to
how
be
that would
best
work.
as a receiving option, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He's that third down, third and long back, run screens, stuff like that.
Fantasy football
Um,
guy for sure.
yeah, he's absolutely a PPR guy. But I just don't really see them doing well in the weapons category.
Okay.
They, like you said, they drafted a lot of
They
receivers,
drafted a
but
bunch. We'll see
yeah,
which ones pan out.
their defense, their D line is absolutely solid. I think the Eagles' defensive line is phenomenal. A lot of big boys. I think they're actually like almost designed to counteract the interior run game, the zone game. They've got big boys everywhere. Man, you got, what
They're
is
there to
it?
slow down the Cowboys, man. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson. That's the biggest battle right there. They are absolute monsters in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't. They did pick up Darius Slay. That's probably their biggest pickup. I can't necessarily remember what they traded for him, but that's their definite biggest upgrade of the offseason with
Okay.
Darius Slay coming in. But I mean, they're pretty good on defense. I don't really see any problems with them there. Got a lot of young linebackers, pretty good. But I think their biggest strong point of defense is that D line, man. That D line is
Okay.
gonna carry them as
Right
long as
on.
they can, as long as they can stay stiff in that back end. So
Okay. Well, speaking of D line carrying teams, there's another one in the division that's built like that. The Washington football team is what we're calling them. The Washington, the Washington
uh,
football team. I almost said Redskins. The
I know it's
Washington
hard.
football team has drafted D lineman after D lineman. They're following the mold of the 49ers. They're plugging
Yeah,
guys. They have I think it's 3 or 4 years in a row now that they've taken D linemen. Um, their best player on defense now is going to be Chase Young. I mean, it's not even a question. He was the
hands
second overall
down,
pick of this draft. The only
hands
other
down.
guy on their defense that you could look at is maybe Landon Collins, their safety. But I
Yeah,
mean, their D line is going to carry this team. They have a new coach in Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera was the Panthers coach for a long time. Used CMC in certain ways. Yada yada yada. Ron Rivera did build a team that went to the Super Bowl.
yep.
So excited to see what Washington can do. Washington signed Kendall Fuller from the Chiefs.
I was actually
Uh,
gonna say he's my favorite corner pickup from most teams,
okay.
other than like big names. Kendall Fuller. I actually really really like him. I think he's been really productive at the corner position. So I think he can become a problem for some receivers. Maybe
And
not
if
the
you
elite of the elite, but I think he's definitely good, like
absolutely,
very very good.
absolutely, and when you have a D line like you have there in
Yeah,
Washington, you don't need to cover somebody for 4 or 5 seconds. You
not
you
really.
need to have a guy locked down for a second or two. Let that pass rush get there. I think the biggest question for the Washington football team this year is definitely Dwayne Haskins. They did go out and sign Kyle Allen. They do have Alex Smith coming back. they've got a good quarterback room. They've got some veterans there. They got guys who produced before. Dwayne Haskins is still a young quarterback coming up. They did draft him high last year. I'm excited to see his progression. And then with the new coaching staff, it's we'll see what they can do. Hopefully he continues to improve. I think he was Pro Football Focus rated him the best quarterback the last 6 weeks of last season.
Okay.
So if he can continue
Didn't know
carrying that
that.
momentum into year two,
Right.
the sky's the limit for Washington. They're on the come up for sure. I think this is a team built to, I don't know, contend for the division just yet, but they're on their way. They've got the D line. They've got hopefully a quarterback in the system that's going to keep improving. He's got plenty of quarterbacks behind him that'll push and help him improve.
Absolutely.
They've got
Alex
Terry
Smith,
McLaurin on
glad
the
he got
outside.
healthy.
There you go, Alex Smith. I think he just got activated from the PUP today as we're recording
Yep.
this.
Yeah, full time.
So
full time.
yeah, good
Full
for him.
time. Nothing holding him back now.
Absolutely.
So he can return to the football field. Start those
That
walkthroughs
man's
that they're
been
in.
through it and back, and
Absolutely.
so it'll be
And
good to
I've
see
got to
him.
say, I'm a Cowboy fan, but man, I'm actually happy to see Alex Smith back.
Absolutely.
I hope he gets crushed by DeMarcus Lawrence.
There
But
you go.
he's been a phenomenal guy. I wish everybody the best. You don't ever want to anyone to get
Sure.
hurt like that and to bounce back like that. But one thing I think is the biggest help for Washington is, Terry McLaurin's name got thrown around a lot last year. I think he's the real deal, man. I think he can do it.
Yeah.
He was number one. They call him Scary Terry over there. They call him Scary Terry everywhere. The dude's fast. He's mobile. He can run routes. I think he can become a staple for them. I think he can become their biggest weapon. Adrian Peterson. He still does Adrian Peterson things, but he's not
just gonna
near
keep
the
going.
person who he was. Yeah, he's not near the person he was. However, he is pretty freaking good. You got Bryce Love behind him and Antonio Gibson. I think Antonio Gibson's more of like the gadget guy as a backup kind of deal, which is it's not bad.
Yeah, Bryce Love is somebody I'm very excited to see. He had a huge injury coming out of college, missed all of last year. Very good player.
Yeah.
So it's kind of where is he at? How productive is he going to be this year? What's his opportunity? What's his workload going to look like?
I think he can learn a lot from Adrian Peterson, which will be a big help for him. So I think we both know the offensive line for the Redskins is pretty good, but I think their biggest playmaker has to be Terry McLaurin. I think they have to start designing and developing around him.
And he had some ups and downs last year around the quarterback play. Dwayne Haskins took over.
Absolutely.
He definitely took a dip. And then Terry McLaurin kind of got back into the mix as far as being productive late in the season. So that's another guy, just kind of continuing into year two.
Yeah,
I think the Washington has. Yeah.
I think it's pretty tough, man, when you got two rookies like that, and they're still trying to figure each other out. So I think if they can develop together as a duo, they could be really, really dangerous
for a long time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I ain't even gonna continue Chase Young's a stud.
Absolutely.
But I think it's time to move on to the Giants, man. The Giants.
Speak on it.
Let's go, baby. Daniel Jones, man. Has he developed enough? Is Jason Garrett going to develop him?
Jason Garrett, your boy.
Yeah, don't even get me started. Daniel Jones, is he developed, man? Is he going to progress? I liked watching him last year a lot. I think he's pretty good, and that's hard to say as a Cowboys fan, but he's pretty good. He's got a lot around him. Saquon is.
Is he good? I feel like he's pretty good.
I think he's okay. He's not top 10 or anything. He's just like right in the middle. No, I'm just
right
kidding.
on. Middle of the road guy for sure.
I actually think he's the number one running back in the league. Not talking fantasy, not talking anything other than that, but just pure talent. I truly think he's the number one running back. Cowboys fans probably gonna rip me for him, like, oh, Zeke, but dude, Saquon is a unreal monster. He produced with absolutely nothing around him.
Absolutely.
And you can't and probably never will be able to say that about Dallas. Dallas has everything.
Not anymore.
We built the front line, we built that front seven. We built that front five. And they've been monsters, and we continue to draft well, and we continue to replace, and we continue to do well at that front. So you can't say that Saquon's not an absolute stud. I do think that their biggest question is also at receiver. Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard, pretty good guys, not great. That's offensively. I think their offense is pretty good as long as Daniel Jones can develop. Um, I don't I don't see Jason Garrett holding them back as much as he did the Cowboys, but
Okay.
I do he will keep them in that mediocre style offense. I don't think Jason Garrett's developed like a Kellen Moore or a Mike
Does he need
McCarthy.
a Mike McCarthy year?
Yeah, I was gonna say I really think he might. Like
Yeah.
he could be a phenomenal coach if he updated his mentality, updated his his playbooks and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think he could be great. People always said, oh well, Jason Garrett pretty much ran the offense, and at one point, the, I truly believe there was a big shift in the Cowboys' play because Jason Garrett didn't like the offense, and we went from running motions and one game we're running a lot of motion and we're trying to trick defenses and keep them on their toes, and all of a sudden the next week we were
Yeah.
just like boom, gone, no
I
motions, no
and
nothing,
I
we're just
remember you
running
saying that at one point it
two
was like
like it just
all of a
it
sudden
just
it was
it just
watered down.
it
Yeah.
was gone, man. It just was gone. And then sure enough, the week prior to that, I think we had actually lost the game. I can't specifically remember the game we lost, but we had run all those motions and stuff and we actually lost. And then the next week came through, and prior to the game, prior to Sunday, we actually were talking through the grapevine that we're hearing that Jason Garrett was taking over the offense and he was pushing to take over more. Um, so I think he can be either a phenomenal developer of Daniel Jones to make him great, but I don't think he's going to make that offense better for the Giants. But I do think he can help Daniel Jones. He is a quarterback guy, so he's
Okay.
going to do pretty well. Um, don't
And he's
really,
rooted as an offense coordinator. That's how he came up. And so maybe
yeah,
him going back to being just offense coordinator, maybe that'll kind of be the change he needs.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Joe Judge being the head coach from I believe it's the
The
New
Patriots
England.
special team, yeah,
Yeah, so that's interesting play there, bringing a
for
special
sure,
teams guy
for sure.
into being the
The
head
head
coach.
coach,
But obviously, you're learning from Bill Belichick. You can't really beat that, man. That's probably the
yeah,
best of the best right there in the
yeah,
coaching world. So, he may have something we've never seen before. Bring that mentality from the Patriots and kind of run them the way they did, and maybe get seasoned guys like Jason Garrett and Patrick Graham to kind of
yeah.
run things away and be continuously evolve to what they have, which would help the Giants a lot.
Has there been a
They
coach yet? As I'm just sitting here thinking about it, has there been really a coach that has come from New England and has successfully built anything that resembled New England? Like Mike
absolutely not,
Vrabel, Mike
but not
Vrabel's done
of
a
a.
good job as a Titan, but I don't know anybody else that's had any success. Josh McDaniels is back in New England after being a head coach,
I
and
mean, I
so
agree.
it's
Absolutely not to answer the question. Absolutely not. But you gotta you gotta also know these guys didn't have Tom Brady. They went
big
into
true.
already rebuilding, most
Yeah,
likely,
yeah.
you know, team.
Is
Um,
Daniel Jones enough to work with?
Tom Brady, Tom, I think two quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, are absolute guys. You can just like, oh, we don't need anybody around these guys. They can just do it all, and they do. They
Yeah,
produce. So
yeah,
I don't really think that'll be a huge factor. I think it's more about the mentality and how they run things and how they adapt, because New England has been one of the best at, hey, we don't have receivers, let's adapt to that.
sure.
Hey, we don't have this, let's adapt to that.
They've got the
Hey,
scheme to make it work.
yeah, they've
Right on,
got it all. They game plan
right on.
well. So I think that'll help the mentality of the Giants right there.
Right on.
Their defense, the G. Well, hold on. Before we go to the defense, I gotta say the Giants' offensive line has been great. They took a huge hit with Nate Soldier opting out.
Ah,
So he was one of the most solid and sturdy offensive linemen they had for a while. So they actually lost him, which is pretty hurt.
that's
What could
that
couldn't
is
could be
unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah, could be worse. You could be the Patriots right now. Have six starters opt out.
We'll talk about that. Yep. Yep.
But anyways, let's go to the defense, man. Leonard Williams. I think this I think this front seven is probably going to be solid in the run game. However, I do think Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence and Dalvin Tomlinson are probably going to struggle with pass rush.
Those are
They're
big boys. Yeah,
they're
those are
they're,
big
they're,
boys.
they're big guys.
Yeah.
They're going to struggle in the pass rush game, unless they pick it up in the linebacker slot, which I mean, I'm looking at their linebackers, man.
Yeah.
They're okay. They're not, you're in the NFL, you're gonna be at least okay.
Sure. Their
And
best linebacker
okay,
is Blake Martinez, and he was a
yeah,
Packer last year, a tackle machine. But
yeah. But I mean, you can't be okay, especially if you're running like a 3-4. So
sure,
that's like literally almost half your defense right there. So
sure, sure.
I'm not really. There's a lot of question marks in the linebacker position. I like their back end. Jabril Peppers holding it
Jabril
down.
Peppers,
Xavier
yeah.
McKinney. Um, got Julian Love. I mean, I think their back end's fine, but I really think their biggest question, man, is the pass rush. They're going to struggle with pass rushing people.
Okay.
Their D line is built to, withstand that Cowboys though.
They might
Built to
stop the
withstand
run. Yeah.
that 40 that they're built to stand the 49ers. They're built to
Sure.
stand, the, I don't know if you can stop Derrick Henry with Tennessee Titans. He's a giant, but they're built to you know handle that stuff. But I think their biggest question mark is defense.
Okay.
Absolutely, because
Okay.
without a pass rush, no matter you could have Richard Sherman and Jalen Ramsey out there, you're gonna struggle because that quarterback's gonna have all day to throw. So they either need to, with the whole new coaching staff, they need to be creative,
Sure.
and if they're not, they're gonna struggle. But I think that about wraps up the NFC East, man.
Yeah,
You got
man. I think
anything?
we've got three new head coaches in this division. So let's talk about, man, who walks away at the end of the day winning this division.
Absolutely. Well, if I was an unbiased football fan, which most of the time I can be,
Cover the
I
shirt.
would,
Cover the shirt.
yeah, cover this up. Yeah, cover this up. Cover my wall of
There you
Cowboy
go.
crap
There you
right
go.
here. But I think the Cowboys have to take it, man. They
Okay.
have, you know, a lot of the teams in the NFC East are essentially rebuilding, and the Cowboys aren't really rebuilding. They just needed to rebuild that coaching staff. I think that was the biggest problem. I know you believe the quarterback position is probably the worst position. No, I'm just kidding. I think the
For the
quarterback
Cowboys,
position
it's
is
either
okay.
safety or quarterback is going to be their big question marks.
Yeah, for you, mine is the coaching staff. I think the
Okay.
coaching staff's it was the biggest problem for the Cowboys. So I think the NFC East gets run by the Cowboys this year. I think the Eagles absolutely can contend, but it really depends on Carson Wentz.
Sure.
Carson Wentz has to stay healthy.
Sure.
If Car- Tell you what, I'll put it to you this way: if Carson Wentz can stay healthy 16, 17 weeks through the COVID, through everything, they will be the number one team. But
Oh,
I
okay.
don't
Okay.
I don't believe he can.
Don't have any faith
So
in him staying healthy. I hear you. I hear you. I
none.
do.
So
Okay.
Cowboys number one for me.
Okay. I'd like to think the Cowboys are going to win it also. I think my thing is, man, the Redskins are coming. And it may not be this year, but it's going to be here in the future. And they've got a new coaching staff there, and they've got plenty of talent to build upon.
Yeah.
So it's they're going to be right up there in contentions this year to maybe upset the Cowboys, upset the Eagles late in the season, and
Right.
that may be the difference. I think the Eagles will be right up there. Eagles and the Cowboys, kind of who's healthy at the end of the season with
So you think
Corona and everything, and it's going
think
to be
that's
hard
one
to
and
tell.
two this upcoming
I
2020
do.
season?
I do. I hope the Cowboys take it, man. I really do. They've got too much.
Yeah.
They've got too
There's
much
no
talent
way.
on that team.
There's no way.
New coaching staff and all that. I mean, you're looking at a team right here who should win 12 or 13 games. I
Easily.
mean, this is a really good football team.
This is also a team that's been 8-8 for I don't even know how many
Yeah,
seasons.
and
But
it's disgusting.
it's
It
been
really
it's
is.
been brutal. It's been brutal. So last year, we didn't make the playoffs, and all we had to do was beat the Eagles, and we would have made the playoffs. Like it's really sad for a division because we were like right down the mediocre lane. Everybody, but the Cowboys have ridiculous talent everywhere, and they're mediocre, 8-8.
Yeah.
Most teams struggle to find receivers, struggle to find linemen, struggle. They're usually hurting somewhere,
Sure.
but I really don't think the Cowboys are hurting almost anywhere other than the
Yeah.
DB position. And 8-8 is pretty sad for a team
Yeah.
that's stacked. So I think we got Cowboys number 1 next season, Eagles 2.
Redskins
If you
3, and
think,
then I think
yeah,
I mean at least in my opinion, I think the Giants are the worst team in the.
ooh, okay,
I think you
we
said
differ
it,
on that
man.
one.
We talk about a team who doesn't have pass rush. We talk about a team who has real question marks on defense, and they seem to be the only team in the division that do. You now have offensive line questions with Nate Schulter going out, Nate Soldier going out.
Yeah,
Daniel Jones, did he progress? Who do they have at wide receiver? I think that team just has too many question marks.
yeah,
Saquon
big.
Barkley's there. He'll beast. Obviously, we know that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I can't put him third. I think they have to be fourth.
I actually flip flopped.
Okay.
I'm Giants 3, Reds. I'm sorry, football team
Hey,
4.
Washington football teams.
Yeah, Washington football team 4. And the reason I did that was because the Giant. So I think it's the biggest factor for both these teams is that quarterback position. They both got really young guys.
Sure.
I think Daniel Jones makes a bigger leap
Okay.
than Dwayne Haskins,
Okay. That's fair.
especially
Yeah.
especially with a Jason Garrett quarterback guy helping him develop and seeing the field better. Um,
Right on.
I think that'll be the biggest factor for those two teams, but I do think that the Giants make it. I think the Giants take 3 for me, and
Giants
then
take
the
3.
Washington Redskins go 4.
Okay.
Um, they've got. I think the Washington football team have a long way to go. But
Okay.
well, guys, if you go in ahead and like that NFC East rundown, go ahead and like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know how
Please,
we
please.
doing. We're gonna have a link down below for the full version of all the divisions, so when you're driving to work, you can listen to the full thing without having to click video to video. Um, yeah, man, like, subscribe, comment, man. We appreciate everything, guys. Thank you so
Let us
much.
know any
Man to
feedback is
Man podcast,
appreciated.
absolutely. Man to Man football coming your way.